while. Okay. Chat.
Set it for everybody. Okay.
And captions.
I think they're on anyway.
Okay.
I think there's some zeros here.
Yeah, hello everybody. Welcome.
Terry from Hot Northern California. Hey, Angela from
Welcome.
Sweden. Hey, Angela.
Welcome everyone. It's good to see you all here. Come on in, say hello. Let us know. Are you caught up? Have you watched the training one? Have you watched the mindset videos? Where are you at? It's okay if you haven't watched it all. I just want to kind of get a sense for who's watched everything, who is just arriving, and this is your first thing, and who's somewhere in between. Matthew says, jealous to see you in t-shirts. It's burr here in Johannesburg. Well, it's your winter rain, so.
It's nice, it's pleasant.
Yeah, not too hot yet. Gonna get there.
Marie.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. But you know, you guys are posting beautiful photos of sunshine, and when we're like, oh, it's cold. So it evens out, right?
Maria Blumen says tonight's subject sounds so interesting, really looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we'll get started in just a minute. I just want to give people just a moment to file in.
Just caught up enjoying learning so much, Maria. Sadell says, listen to all of the amazing stuff. So, yeah, very good. I'm hoping that it's useful information, maybe fills in some details that you haven't heard before.
That's what we're hoping, both the understanding the theory, the biomechanics, how it all works, but also the mindset sort of around it. I would love to hear if what you're finding most useful so far. Maria says the prerequisites form shines a brutal light on how my two horses are better on one side compared to the other. You know what? I have a secret. It's normal.
I don't know.
It's really normal. Yeah, it's not just you.
Okay. But once you've noticed it, you can work on it.
Yeah, that's the key to know where the deficits are, what's good, what's not good, what you need to work on. It's better than being in the dark. Better to know. Awareness is key.
Inga Shaw says, yes, I've watched and tried Horse and I are feeling mindful. That's good. Jennifer says, hi from Isle of Man. I've loved listening to the mindset videos. I really need them today. They really made me relax when I was trying to do too much and feeling a bit unable. We had some good moments. Oh, good. That's awesome.
Excellent. I'm glad it's helping and hitting home for you.
Oops. Jennifer Jones says, however, I never heard don't sacrifice the gate or the line before. Yeah, it's so logical, isn't it? But yeah, people don't mention it. No, it's not usually taught.
Or even, we hear the right thing at the right time. It can be said to you a million times, and it won't like fully penetrate the gray matter of the brain until the moment that you really need it and are ready to understand it. That goes for a lot of things.
Yeah.
I can speak from experience.
Yeah.
Matthew says your comment, you invite the horse and he follows you. The horse world would do well to adopt this or adapt this mantra. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, lots from South Africa today. That's really cool, you guys. Oh, it's moving too fast. I can't keep up with these comments.
Yeah, it jumps around. But you can always scroll up and down.
Jennifer Smith says, just a housekeeping issue. Kajabi, I wanted to leave a comment, but it referred me back to the website, but there doesn't seem to be a comment place. You need to go to the artistic dressage community. That's where you need to comment. Yeah. That's where all of the discussion needs to take place.
Yeah. Going up. Lumans has tried the preparation today, but Pony was just in the mood to bomb.
Bomb.
It's funny. Actually, says prerequisites made me realize how long it's been since I was competing and doing sitting trot. I'll blame my difficulties on the 4 degrees in Cape Town this morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Matthew says, "So how do we get you out to South Africa for clinics?" That's a good question. That's a long flight.
Oh, okay, let's get started. I need to hop over here real quick and find the right. No. Thing. No. Which windows? I think it. Yeah, there we go. Day 2. We're training 2 because we've switched it up this time. Okay. Now, share.
Matthew Bright with a safari. That sounds good.
Ooh. Okay, so I'm gonna do my little trick, which is to do this first, and then I'm gonna present. What? I did.
Oh.
It's slow. And it's working. Okay, yay. The tech gods are shining down on us today, hopefully. Okay, so we are here on training 2, preparation in motion, laying the groundwork for the half pass, building the skills that you and your horse need. So just really briefly, this is what the workshop looks like. We're on training 2 right now. Before that, we already had training 1. We have 1 more of these live trainings left, a formal training, and then we will also have a live mindset session on June 16th, and we will be announcing a scholarship winner, somebody who wins participation in our upcoming half pass course. But we'll also talk a lot about mindset in that session. Plus, there are mindset nugget video trainings throughout the workshop. Every day that we don't have a live training, there's a mindset video. So make sure you check this out if you haven't already. And let's get started. Okay, so this is what we're talking about today. This is just kind of what to expect for today. We're going to be introducing an exercise that will help you make the horse good. It will also mobilize the haunches. And we'll talk about how this preparation unlocks the possibility for the half pass in your horse. We're also going to talk about canter half pass, and we're going to do that first because we didn't really get to talk a lot about it last time, so we're going to talk about it. So, Thomas. Actually, why don't we do this? So what's the similar between the trot half pass and canter half pass? What's different and what qualities make the half pass, whether trot or canter, good? I'm gonna unshare the screen so that lip readers can see us talk better. And a little tip for everybody, take notes that you can refer back to later, and you can share them if you like in the Facebook group. So I'm gonna stop the share. So we're gonna, that way you guys can see us a little bit better. I forgot to do that last time and I apologize. I know it makes it hard for those of you that need to be able to lip read. So, or just like seeing our beautiful faces. Yeah, I'm in a weird mood. Okay.
So, I mean, big difference, of course, is that the trot is a diagonal 2-beat gait and the canter is a 3-beat gait, followed by a suspension phase. So, both in the trot, in the canter, and in the walk, the horse is bending in the direction of travel. And in the walk and the trot, the outside hind crosses over the inside hind. In the canter, there's not really a crossing because the inside hind, of course, is always ahead of the outside hind. So the outside hind never quite reaches across, but both leave together, and then the outside hind lands first, and the inside hind lands a little bit forward and sideways inward from the outside hind leg. So that has a different feel to it. The danger in the canter half pass is that the horse starts rolling downhill and falling on the inside shoulder. And then the canter no longer feels like a series of leaps, but it almost feels like the horse is walking or like he's got some flat tires, you know. And
You may have seen this before.
and then it becomes
Or written it.
rhythmically impure, and the suspension phase kind of disappears, and it has no more impulsion. You lose that beach ball feeling of bounding, you know, forward and sideways. So it's very important that you maintain the bounce in the canter, the suspension phase, this feeling of the horse pushing himself up off the ground and then flying a little sideways rather than walking sideways in a funny rhythm. So for for me that always has to be a priority. Then maintain the jump of the hind legs, maintain the lift of the forehand, and then the sideways is like third on the priority list, you know, or lower down.
I think in the canter, the crookedness issue becomes apparent in a slightly different way than in the trot. Of course, it's apparent in both trot and the canter, but because the canter by nature is an asymmetrical gait, and the horse is naturally crooked, and the canter, they'll naturally put the haunches to the inside a little bit in the canter and push the outside shoulder, I have a fly on my forehead, to the outside a little bit, which sets the horse up by nature to be crooked. And then we want the horse straight to begin with. And then when we add the canter half pass, that adds a whole other layer of complexity to it. A lot of people, I'll speak from personal experience, when I was first learning dressage, and I got on my mom's horse many years ago, and I saw canter half pass, and I can do that. I got on, I canter half passed across the arena. The pig was because I was just crookeding across the arena. Of course, I could only do it in one direction because that was the hollow direction. That was the direction my horse was hollow. We weren't actually riding a canter half pass. We were crookeding across the arena, and the horse ended up leading with the haunches and so on. So different problems can come up in the canter half pass the other direction where the horse was stiff. She didn't move over so well because she was already prone to leaning on to that shoulder, which was now the inside shoulder, but because of that, she maybe, she just got stiff through her body. We had no bed.
And so because the horses tend to go a little haunches in the canter anyway, as a result of the asymmetrical footfall sequence, you may have to lead the shoulder more in the direction of travel in the canter half pass more than in the trot half pass. So that's another thing to think about. Something else I want to say now. I kind of lost my train of thought. What was it? So I mean, in general, in half passes, people think too much of moving the croup sideways with the outside leg, and so they forget to engage the inside hind, and they forget to move the shoulder in the direction of travel, especially going in the hollow direction. Then the horses can drift away from the line of travel if they go too much sideways. So it's sometimes useful to remind yourself that even in the half pass, you should have a connection from the inside leg to the outside rein. Sounds a little weird, right? But sometimes, especially going in the hollow direction, that's helpful. Like send the inside hind leg forward and then bring the shoulder a little bit in front of the inside hind. And then you can ask the outside hind leg to cross too.
Before we move on, one little housekeeping tip. Please, if you have questions, if you can, try to put them in the Q&A rather than in the chat. We will try to get to the chat questions, but they won't have top priority. And if we run out of time, we won't get to them at all. So any questions you have, go ahead and put them in the Q&A. It's at the bottom of your screen. I'm not sure if you're on mobile. You can ask in the chat if you can't find it, and somebody might be able to help you.
Yeah, about what makes a good half pass.
Whether it's trot or canter.
And of course, the horse has to bend in the walk and trot. Outside hind leg has to cross. The rhythm, the tempo should stay the same before the half pass, during the half pass, and after the half pass. Depending on how much you collect, the stride length should basically be the same. If you're riding, I don't know, a working trot first, then you may have to collect a little bit before you start the half pass, but the tempo should be the same. The roundness, the softness, the throughness should stay the same. So it should not look like you're suddenly riding a different gait just because you start your half pass. And that's something I used to see a lot in competitions like in the 80s and 90s. I remember that the horses had maybe a nice trot on the short side and in the corner, and then when they started the half pass, they lost the suspension and they were sort of running sideways a little bit, and the gait was a little rushed and was a much lower quality trot than before. And as soon as the half pass was done, the original trot came out again. It was a different quality again. So we should always train so that the quality of the gait stays high and stays the same, consistent, through, short side, corner, half pass, other corner, and so on. So keep an eye on that. And that goes for all movements, shoulder in, haunches in, half pass, whatever you ride. The quality of the gait should always be the same. And the stride length, the horses shouldn't slow down, for example, when it gets a little harder. They shouldn't speed up when it gets easier, or they shouldn't speed up and hurry when it gets more tiring or when the demands are higher. And then slower when it's easier. Horses will do that. They will slow down in the corner and then speed up on the long side, right? Or they may have one tempo, on the short side and in the corner, and then you start a shoulder, you start a half pass, and then they get slower because now it's more effort. It's, they have to use a little bit more muscle strength because moving it forward and sideways is more work than moving just straight ahead and forward. It's a little bit like driving a car. You put your foot on the gas and you're driving on a plain level road. So as long as the road doesn't change and as long as your pressure on the gas pedal is the same, your speed will be the same. And then when the road starts to go up a hill and you keep the same pressure on the gas pedal, your car will slow down, right? Because now there's a certain resistance from the road, and the steeper the hill, the slower you go. And with the horses, it sometimes feels like that. If you ride something more demanding, all of a sudden, they feel a little underpowered or so, and then you may have to ask the horse to put a little bit more effort in. So you could say riding a circle is slightly more work than riding a straight line. Riding a small volte is more work than riding a big circle. Riding a pirouette is the most amount of work of all these turns. Riding a shoulder in requires a little bit more energy output, a little bit more strength than riding straight on a single track. Riding a half pass requires more energy and more strength than riding a shoulder in, right? So, and sometimes horses will reflect that by apparently losing a little bit of their enthusiasm or losing a little bit of their energy. And then you have to remind them, hey, keep going, keep the energy up. Because otherwise you won't be able to ride that movement. If the horse loses power in your half pass, then everything falls apart. Like every movement you ride requires a certain minimum of effort on the horse's part, a certain minimum of RPMs of the engine or engagement of the abdominal muscles and so on. And if you don't have it, then the horse falls out. You see it often in the canter. When the canter work gets a little more tiring, the horses sort of expire, they fall out of the canter and then they trot or they walk. So in order to avoid that, you sometimes have to, remind them to keep moving and stay active and keep the energy level up. Okay.
I was just reading, Emery was wanting captions turned on, and they should be turned on.
Stop it. Whoa.
Now it's showing.
Thought it was like a default setting, but they're always on me.
That's what it says. It says it's default. Anyway, okay. So
Okay.
that's what makes a, oh, I did want to mention one thing. And also that the haunches are not leading, whether it's walk trot or canter. So the haunches leading would be like if you're coming across the arena. Like your horse is going this and should be like this. I wish I had a little horsey, like this across the arena. Haunches leading would be the horse kind of going like this, not haunches arriving before, unless you intentionally move the haunches over. That's a different matter. But
Now I remember what I was
yes,
to say.
it's good. That's great.
Some horses find canter half passes easier than
Yeah.
trot half passes. And if you drive a little too much with your outside leg in a trot half pass, some horses will break into the canter.
Yeah.
Ricky found that out in the long rein. Actually did a long rein half pass in the trot and just probably pushed the croup over a little bit too much and then the horse broke into the canter. It happened to me too.
Or what can happen in the trot half pass at the long rein, when that happens, the horse just gets slightly arrhythmic, just slightly, because of the aiding at the long rein, and it naturally pulls the horse into the canter. It can be a way that you actually purposely get the canter to set it up so the horse falls into the canter that way.
And because of that, I would always recommend using the inside leg for the canter depart aid and not the outside leg. If you canter with a driving aid from the outside leg, then there's potential for misunderstanding once you get to the stage where you want to do trot half passes and you ask the horse to move over with the outside leg and the horse knows that as a canter aid, then mistakes can happen. So that's why I would follow that old German tradition of asking with the inside leg for the canter depart, not with the outside leg. I know some, I think in Western, they use the outside leg, and I think in saddle seat and maybe some jumpers or so. But yeah, so I mean, of course, it works to get a canter, but you may run into problems with trot half passes if you do that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, just beware. So.
Okay, so the next thing we wanted to do was actually watch a little some canter half pass videos really quick, like we did with the trot the other day. So we can look at these really quick so that if for those who don't really know what a canter half pass looks like, we're going to show you real quick. And then we're going to get on to what we were actually going to talk about today. Just consider this part the bonus. Thanks, Terry, by the way. Okay.
So it's Klaus Krisch again with Siglavimantur from 1994. So again, nice camera perspective, right? You see the corner and this is really awesome, the way he rides it. Let me go back. Because he just glides over there, and the horse is in a nice uphill balance. So again, the corner is your preparation, right? Consider the corner already the beginning of your half pass because that's what sets you up. Yeah. And then see how he exits the corner and he immediately moves over. And you can see how the withers are higher than the croup, so the horse is nice and uphill. And with his outside knee in, with the outside rein, he takes the shoulder over.
And that's a very small arena, actually, so he doesn't have any time to waste. He has to immediately, as soon as one step out of the corner, he has to immediately start that half pass.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a steep half pass, right?
It is very steep.
So, and then of course he goes into a pirouette. That actually that lends itself well to go from half pass to pirouette to half pass.
What was interesting is coming out of the pirouette. Do you want to go back to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or out of the pirouette. Going into the half pass, you see he actually went single track and then he moved the hindquarters over.
Straight for a stride. I don't know if that was a glitch or if he meant to do that. Because you can also just immediately go from the pirouette into the half pass. You don't have to go straight for a stride. But it happens sometimes unintentionally too.
Well, you can do this on purpose in training. I've done this on purpose and I think it's super cool to see.
Here you see the bend and you see the forward and sideways movement. And then of course the pirouette where you have to turn the shoulder around the inside hind. That's a good way of straightening the horse in a way. And oh, by the way, when you're done with a half pass, it's fairly easy to get a flying change. Because in the half pass, you put the weight so much into the inside hind leg, then you can change the bend, and then out of that flexed inside hind leg with the new bend, it's pretty easy to trigger a flying change. So that, here, see.
He changed in that first step. He arrived on the wall, immediately changed. There was no delay.
So no tempo changes. Okay. Yeah.
Other videos?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Other videos.
Yeah. Stop the share.
Oops.
There's a delay happening today. I have to find the thing. Sorry. Oh, it is?
Yeah.
It's
No, no, it's yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, he should very warm blood.
There you go.
So it's interesting to have the comparison between a Baroque horse.
Maria says, "Oh, that looks so smooth and fluid."
I know.
I know. And
awful.
Harry says Klaus is amazing. He really is. That horse segments. My tongue. Siglavi Mantua. It's an amazing horse. And the two of them, just this phenomenal pair. They really did amazing.
But hold on.
Are we sharing this bit?
No, it unshared. I just
Oh,
have to find it again.
We have to keep my little trick.
Yeah.
I found the trick. Okay, so before you do anything, you have to just grab the edge of the window, Reese opposite. I know, totally. Okay.
So I guess that's a 7-year-old FEI test. Yeah. So it's a counter change of lead, right? From the center line to the wall and back to the center line. So you can see how here at the end, she brings the horse parallel to the long side, shifts the weight to the left, changes the bend, and then does a flying change. And this is kind of interesting here. See how the horse fell a little on the forehand here. That happens sometimes, especially when you're changing from the stiff side to the hollow side. And now the haunches are leading a little bit. See that? That's just a tiny amount. And you see how the withers kind of dropped. And then let me see here. She's fixing it. See how the horse is starting to go more uphill again?
She's fixing it within the Canter half pass.
So that's pretty good. I mean, that's happened to me too in the past, that you do a flying change and then the horse rotates ever so slightly in the flying change, and then it's like, hey, he's crooked now. He's on the line.
Slightly crooked in the change. If you go back, you can see it.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool that she managed to fix it and ride him uphill again within that short space from the long side to the center line.
Yeah, go ahead and show from there, because you really see the change. And here we go.
Could be that she was turning her pelvis a little too much or using too much left leg.
Or this is the horse's crookedness pattern.
Exactly.
But they all have one.
Here it doesn't look so bad. She's leaning forward a little bit, which doesn't help for balance. But here, see as he lands, you can see how the haunches are leading
just ever so slightly. But she's also not in the center too, which I mean, okay, we're picking this apart. And it happens to the best riders.
I'm not trying to knock her, and she's a really good rider, right? But this is the kind of stuff that happens to everybody periodically, right? But you can it's interesting to see how it happens, and it's
nice to see if you're struggling with mistakes like this, or you hope to. It's nice to see that even top riders struggle with these mistakes.
See here, he's already much more uphill. Like she really worked on bringing the withers up again, and I guess by the time she reaches the quarter line approximately, she's basically got it fixed. And that's like 3 or 4 strides, right? That's pretty good. And here it's even better. Yeah, there. By the time she gets to the center line, it's all good again, right? Here here the horse is in balance again. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Elegant horse. So, but yeah, we don't need to watch the whole test. It's easy to get sucked into that. I know, totally. Can do that. Just sit here, watch with you.
That sound is not a pig.
I don't know, it sounds like.
That is a dog. Oop, that wasn't good. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And now we could transition back to, let me find the presentation again. That is a dog. They're not.
Snoring, yeah.
The snoring. She sounds like it. Yeah, it's my mom and stepdad's boxes. Okay, so share. There we go. And we're back. I'm gonna do that same brick. Okay. This, oop, yes, present. Nope. Ah. Is it again?
It's like a new
It's a
does it more.
Yeah. It's not just on my computer, because no, this one.
This one.
Yeah.
See, training one, see.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, it's just the one, we have to.
Oh, it closed.
Yeah, it's because it's
Close
full screen and then it doesn't find it, we have to go back to. Here, Dave. Make it. Let's get out of them. So annoying. It's so that fun.
Let's try again. Okay, well, usually
What?
abracadabra, I mean, what do I say? It worked, okay, yay, okay, we're back here. Now we're gonna dive into, oh, actually, there's a little bit more about the Canter. Do you want to talk about any of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a summary of what we had mentioned here.
A little bit.
Bend in the direction of travel, and yeah, there is also a plie or leg yield in the canter. So if you're moving the horse forward sideways away from the inside leg, like from the center line out towards the rail, that's called a plie. It's a shoulder in related or leg yield related movement. It's also good.
Moving away from the bend, whereas moving towards the bend is the half pass.
Yep, and yeah, it exposes canter weaknesses absolutely. If the horse has a natural tendency to be a little flat or on the forehand, it will show up even more in the half pass, or it will derail your half pass. So that's the diagnostic aspect of the half pass. It'll show you weaknesses in the canter for sure. And yeah, the crookedness shows up more. Yeah, same thing with the haunches. And if you ride a haunches in on the long side, it can also show up the crookedness more. Teaches to manage the outside aids. Basically the orchestra of the aids, right? You still need a little inside leg usually to make sure the inside hind leg doesn't escape to the side, but keeps going forward under the body. And then your outside knee and rein. Move the shoulder over, your outside lower leg may have to move the haunches, depending on which way you're going, stiff side or hollow side. Always dangerous to try and bend with the inside rein. That usually then creates a kink or a break at the base of the neck, and then the horse jackknives and loses impulsion and gets crooked, and then the quality of the movement falls apart. Can't push it through, that's true. So you shouldn't muscle the horse through the half pass, regardless of which gait you're in. It's tempting to do that, right? When you start a half pass and you feel the quality of the gait deteriorating, you feel like you're gradually losing the bend, there's resistance building against your outside leg. Most people just grip and push harder and harder, and then it just gets worse and worse. So that's better to abandon the half pass, exit, restore the quality of the gait, and then re-enter. Otherwise it's sort of this race to the bottom. The more the horse resists, the more you push, the more you push, the more he resists, and all the quality of the gait then disappears. Right? And so.
And it's not the first step, it's the result of many other things.
Yeah. Have to have certain elementary building blocks in place so you can combine them into a half pass.
And you shouldn't just introduce it at the canter. You should really introduce it first at the walk and the
Right,
trot, and then
exactly.
develop it in the
Yeah.
canter. Okay, now move on. This is what we were actually going to talk about today: gymnastic exercises,
Yeah.
and how you can use them to develop the skills that you and your horse need
Yeah.
for the half pass. So,
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the gymnastic exercises teach the horse the building blocks that go into the half pass, and they develop the balance, the bend, the suppleness of the spine, the suppleness of the hind legs, engagement, the flexion of the hind legs. And once you've developed them to a sufficient degree, then you can put them together into a number of movements. And the half pass is one of the more advanced movements of the possibilities. The exercises develop the throughness, the permeability for the aids. They long term, they give the horse all the skills that he needs, but also in the short term, like within the riding session, once the horse is already working on half passes, I would always choose a preparatory exercise that puts him into the right balance, or that even tests, is he ready today? Is he already warmed up enough? So do we have all the ingredients ready to go, so that we can start a half pass. And for each more advanced movement, there's usually a number of little exercises you can ride that put the horse into the right balance, with the right energy level, right frame of mind, so that this more advanced movement kind of flows naturally out of what you did before. That's better than ambushing the horse and just out of the blue riding something that has no logical connection to what you were doing before. Right? So I always like to have a bit of a train of thought going, and a little bit of an evolution or development. So like last time we were talking about Volti in the first corner of the long side, then a shoulder in, then a half pass. There's a logic. It's like a story you tell. It's a logical development from bending and turning to bending and sidestepping with a bend against the direction of travel. And the shoulder engages the inside hind, which is a super important prerequisite for a good half pass. And out of that, you go into the half pass, and then you have fairly good chances of success. Whereas if you ride something completely unrelated and all of a sudden you tell the horse, okay, half pass now, the horse will be taken by surprise, and will be confused maybe, and will maybe take a moment for him to catch up, mentally, and realize what you're doing. Whereas if you set it up well, it's logical, then very often the horses already think of it themselves, then they feel like in their body it would be a logical next step to do this.
they feel the invitation in their body to move over this way.
Right.
Believe it or not,
Exactly.
it's true.
Yeah, so in these exercises, I teach the horse to move through their body and to be connected, be connected within their body, be connected to the ground, to the weight, to the aids, and so on.
Firmness, connection, not just kind of the pretend shape of it.
Yeah, when they're truly connected, all body parts connected with each other, the horse connected to all the rider's aids, and to the ground, and to the weight, then you can ride pretty much anything, and everything then becomes possible. Yeah.
Yeah, and gymnastic exercises develop straightness, balance, suppleness. To ride a correct half pass, you need all three.
And you've already noticed, right? Some of you mentioned that your half pass is a little bit better in one direction, or easier in one direction than the other. That's the straightness.
Yeah.
So it shows, of course, this shows you that, to what extent the horse is still crooked, or to what extent he's become straight, right? I mean, there'll always be a subtle difference between the two sides, right? But in beginning haunches in, and half pass, it's very typical that the horse will be able to do a haunches in or half pass in the a hollow direction first, and in the stiffer direction, it looks more like a leg yield because the horse can't quite bend yet in that direction. That's a normal starting point. So then you don't need to develop even suppleness, equal suppleness of the hips, the shoulders, and the spine, so that the horse is then able to do the half pass in both directions, right? Because that's really what it comes down to. The horse has to learn to support himself equally easily with the left pair of legs and the right pair of legs. That often always plays a big role. The horse needs to be able to bend left and right equally well. The horse needs to be able to move the shoulders left and right equally easily, and he needs to be able to move his haunches left and right equally easily. And when he can do that, you can do anything. You know, zigzag, half passes, tempo changes, and everything's possible. And so that's really the heart of straightness training, right? And that is always like a running thread in each training session, that you always work on these things, these basics.
Pervasive, it's throughout the training.
Yep.
And these gymnastic exercises help us to do that in a variety, multitude of ways.
And developing these abilities then make the work easy. So you can guide the horse with light aids. You don't have to muscle or wrestle with the horse. And because this ability to bend, to move the shoulders, to move the hips easily left and right, that enables the horse to do whatever you want. And light aids, the horses will always be balanced, and no resistance from stiff muscles, stiff joints, so.
Right. Yeah, and it enables you to ride with finer aids. Your timing, it can be better because the horse gets more responsive. And weight shifts, the clarity of your aids are easier because the exercises give you kind of a safe container to work with it.
When horses resist, this last point here, they're not stubborn. It's either because they haven't developed that ability to shift the weight, to change the bend, to turn the shoulders, to move the hips enough yet, so that there are some deficits usually in that suppleness. Sometimes or often there are deficits in body awareness, that the horses are not quite sure where their legs are or which leg is next, and where they have to support themselves so they don't fall down while they're doing it. Sometimes, they simply don't quite understand what you want, or they don't or maybe they understand what you want, but they don't know how to do it without killing themselves, right? Things like that, and then that leads to resistance, right? And then, in the old school, like I had a teacher in the past who kind of framed everything as obedience and respect for the aids and so on. So if you come from that mindset, then of course you'll make the horse obey, right? Then you ramp up, the forcefulness, and then that's, leads to big problems.
Right, and that way of thinking, everything that's less than 100% compliant and is an act of disobedience.
Right.
It's really not a
But in reality,
attitude.
I know in reality it's much more a lack of understanding, a lack of balance, a lack of body awareness, a lack of suppleness. And so you have to look at, where is that resistance coming from? Is there something he doesn't understand, or was I not clear with my aids? Maybe I didn't express myself well enough, and it's always a possibility.
And either way, it comes back to you, whether it's that the horse is unprepared, unable to do it, not able to figure out his body. It comes back to you to go back and prepare better. Or if the horse is confused, again, they're not understanding. It's not that the horse is saying, "Now I refuse." The horse is not understanding. Sometimes it combined with not being able.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to you, because then it's on you to then explain it better so that they can understand.
Yeah, one of the things that Kalmi used to say that I liked and that really stuck with me is that he said we should spend more time explaining things to the horse, and we should spend less time demanding things of the horse.
Yeah,
I thought that's a really great way of looking at it. So that's why, when you approach it from, well, there's a resistance. Where does that come from? What is he not understanding?
Yeah.
Where do I need to help him? Where is he not supple enough? And so on. Then it's less confrontational. It's more horse friendly, and then so saves you and the horse a lot of trouble.
Yeah. And gives you an opportunity to cultivate an even better relationship rather than destroying it.
Yeah.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to give you a gymnastic exercise that you get to ride that can help you develop the half pass. It's one of the steps on the way to the half pass. We wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits of this exercise before we teach it.
Yeah, it's really a hip suppling exercise in a way, and it tunes the horse to your pelvis and your weight, also to your legs. That improves the rider's feel. It loosens the rider's hips and leg muscles as much as it loosens the horse's hips, because you'll be rotating back and forth a lot.
I rode it today. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that the other day too. My horse. You learn to feel the outside hind leg when it's on the ground, when it's in the air. That plays a role. It's important that you can feel the horse's legs. It develops, I mean, your ability and the horse's ability to rotate back and forth, right? You have to rotate your pelvis left and right, and the horse, of course, has to then move his haunches left and right. So you both develop greater freedom of motion in the whole pelvic region.
You can steer the horse before
Exactly. And you could do it at the walk first, then later you can do it at the trot, you can even do it at the canter later on. It's an exercise that you can simplify, so you can do it with relatively young horses, and then you can also spice it up. So yeah, it's interesting enough for FEI horses to balance with power and suppleness, definitely. And I'll explain, the exercise in a second. You can start with a leg yield rather than the haunches in, right? And then it evolves over time.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. Your horse doesn't even have to be able to do a haunches in yet. It's about the principle of being able to move the hindquarters over. If the pet isn't perfect, you can polish this. Everything can be improved. Don't worry about it. Just have fun with it.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure every horse will feel better afterwards. Once you've ridden this a couple of times in each direction, I'm pretty sure that even if the horse isn't ready for the half pass, if it's a younger horse who can just do leg yields, I'm sure if you do this exercise a few times, you'll have a looser horse, more supple horse.
Yeah, because you're just improving the suppleness of the horse and improving the tuning of the horse to your pelvis rotation. I mean,
you may find that the horse is going through the back better, that is easier to sit, because you're softening the hind legs, you're loosening the hind legs. Contact will probably be better.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, what you discover.
Yeah, let's do it. So
it's really simple.
you're gonna have to explain stirrup stepping, because we have people here that don't know what it is, but.
So I mean, the basic idea is that you're moving the horse's croup in and out, right? And I always try to go for 3 strides croup in and then 3 strides straight. So the front legs stay on the line, you're just moving the croup back and forth. And here at the beginning, we use a little pressure in the outside stirrup when the outside hind is on the ground. It's like thinking of a basketball. When you dribble a basketball, you push it into the ground, it bounces back. When the more you press it into the ground, the higher it bounces, right? So you can generate some energy by stepping into the hind leg. And then when that basketball bounces back up, you can change its direction a little bit. So you step 2 strides in a row when the outside hind is down, outside stirrup, and then you move the outside hind leg in. And you rotate yourself, outside hip back, weight on the inside seat bone, outside leg then asks the outside hind leg to come across. I would do it in the walk first, right? And so 3 strides is enough. And then shift your weight to the outside, and with your inside leg, bring the haunches back out. Then if you like, you can ride a volte afterwards, which works well because, of course, when you ride haunches in, there's always a risk that the horse gets a little crooked and
that you lose the inside hind.
That you lose the inside hind. And if you turn the shoulders onto a volte, then you fix that problem, then the horse is straight. Plus, you're now suppling also the shoulders. So croup in out loosens the pelvis and the hip joints. Turning onto a volte loosens the shoulder area. and the weight of the outside front leg then gets transferred to the inside hind leg. Right? So it's an additional benefit, right? So you can do the volte, you can leave it. I tend to do it. I like it. It's something that's sort of evolved over the years. And if you can't figure out the stirrup stepping, you can leave that out. It doesn't matter. It's helpful. It creates a little extra bounce, a little extra energy.
Try it.
Exactly.
You know, you're not going to break your horse or yourself
Exactly.
if you get the timing wrong. It's okay.
Exactly. And yeah, if the horse can't do haunches in, then do leg yield. No big deal, right? Or counter shouldering or something.
Think just moving the hindquarters just this much over. It doesn't have to be a full-on correct, proper haunches in. You're just trying to get some responsiveness. Yeah,
it's not going to be perfect, of course, the first time you ride it. If the horse doesn't know haunches in, then, be happy with anything as long as he moves the croup. That's fine.
And think of it as asking, can you move the hindquarters over just a little bit while we're moving? Whether it's walk, trot, or...
I would start on the hollow side because it's easier. You get a little wind sooner, and the horse gets a little wind. And then the stiffer direction tends to be more difficult. And don't be surprised if you get a haunches in the hollow direction and a leg yield in the stiffer direction. It's normal, But sometimes you have to prioritize, like, what's more important right now. Like, you can't get everything at once. What's the point of the exercise here? And that's mobilizing the haunches. So it's more important that the horse moves the croup in and out than that he bends correctly, or even that he stays on the bit, and that comes later, right? Once he's supple enough in the hind legs and he can move his weight from one hind leg to the other, the roundness will come back and the bend will come and so on. So initially just move the croup in and out. If there's major resistance, you could stop, 90-degree turn on the forehand in motion, so that the croup comes in, he looks at the wall, at the rail, and then move the croup back out 90 degrees. And then continue.
And so what you're trying to do when you do that is you're trying to explain to the horse. You're breaking it down. Say, okay, I get it. You're not understanding what I'm asking. Let me explain it to you a little bit in a very gentle, reassuring way. It doesn't have to be like, you horse, this is what you need to do. Instead, you have the attitude that I get it. You're not understanding. Let me show you a little bit what I want. You can even do this on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. That's always an option. You can always show the horse new stuff in hand first. Another thing that actually works really well when the horse has no clue how to do this, you can stop. You can do a 90-degree turn on the forehand, like I said, then 45 degrees turn on the forehand back. So now the horse is standing in the haunches in position, and then you ask the horse to move on.
Can you walk?
Halt to walk transition, and forget the bend, forget the head, where the head is. Just in this at this angle, can you move a few steps? 1, 2, 3 is enough. Don't do more, and then straight.
Yeah.
And then pick another spot in the arena. Repeat. Right. Yeah. So you could break it down. You make it simpler. Take the speed out. Some horses need time to think. So that for some horses it's easier if you stop, you wait, you shift the weight, and then you ask the horse to move the haunches over, so that the horse has time to think about every single step, every single leg. Otherwise, some horses get panicky a little bit when you try to do things a little bit too quickly. For other horses, it's better if you take advantage of that momentum and the flow of the gait. Some horses, once you stop, they're hard to start again, or then they go backwards and they go, and they have a hard time getting organized at the halt. So you have to find out which one your horse is. Is your horse better? Is it easier if you stop and then do this 90-degree turn on the forehand, 45 degrees in the other direction, and then start moving? Or is it better if you do it in the flow, step, and croup to the inside, and then croup back out? So that you have this little metronome, right? Step, haunches in, haunches out. So it's like, this rhythm that you keep. And then, if you like, volte afterwards, and then straight. I would just do this in the walk in both directions. When you feel like, okay, this feels kind of smooth, it feels easy, try it in the trot. And when you can do this on the long side, you could go on the diagonal and ride the exact same exercise on the diagonal, right? And then you're already getting pretty close to a half pass, right? If you think that half passes are pretty similar to haunches in on the diagonal, right, that we were talking about last time, it's a little bit of a matter of how steep the angle is, right? But it's perfectly okay to start with a very shallow angle. And you could also use a very shallow diagonal. It doesn't have to be KXM. It could be from K to C or from K to the quarter line by the short side, right? So 5 meters or 10 meters sideways, 40 meters in distance, or 60 meters long and 5 or 10 meters sideways, right? So that makes it a lot easier for the horse if you can reduce the angles. So and basically, if you can do this exercise on the long side, there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to do it on the diagonal, right? Logically speaking. So you bit by bit you come a little closer to the half pass, right? And then you go through stages of development. So what if it's more of a leg yield at first, right? Or counter shoulder in, and then you gradually, the more you supple the horse, the more he will be able then to maintain the bend to the inside and move the haunches in. It's really just a matter of time, practice. So some repetition, of the exercise.
Yeah.
And if you run into trouble, try halting and so on with a turn on the forehand, or get off, do it in hand, show the horse on the ground, come on, move over.
Absolutely.
So that's often a lot easier for the horse to figure it out when he just has to balance himself and deal with his own body and not with an additional weight on top. Be flexible in the approach.
Yes, always. And be playful with your approach.
Yeah.
If you have a long enough arena, you can even potentially manage to do it more than one time alongside, and you'll find that as you get the coordination down, as your horse understands better what you want, you'll start getting an even better response. This is like polishing, you're polishing the response. And you'll find that it gets better and better.
Also, don't necessarily do this 100 times in a row.
I was just gonna say, I wouldn't just drill it. I would do it a couple times, do something else, and come back to it.
What's usually good is to trot and ride a simple pattern, like ride a 20-meter circle, ride whole school in the trot, and give the horse a chance to think about what just happened and to process that new feeling in his body. And you assess, how did this impact my horse? Did it improve him? Did it make him worse? If he's different, what is different? In my live lessons, I over the years, I developed sort of this rhythm where I would have students ride an exercise that's a little bit more complex, maybe at the walk, ride it a couple of times, and then I had them trot and go straight, whole school or 20-meter circle. And then I would ask them, so how's he feeling now compared to before the exercise? Better, worse, or the same? And then in what way is he better or worse? What has improved? What has become worse? And that feedback then gives you information that helps you decide, what do we do next? And it teaches the riders how to assess better the impact of what they're doing, because a lot of riders have never actually learned to do this. Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it teaches you to think, it teaches you to observe, it teaches you to reflect. And in clinic lessons, when you put people on the spot and you say, how does it feel? It's like weird. Good weird or bad weird, right? Because so many people never had to actually describe what they're feeling, right? And that's a whole separate skill in a way, to learn to describe. But if you need to describe it, you need to really observe and you need to think, and that describing it helps you actually process the information. It helps you understand it better yourself, and it can direct your attention to what's important, so that you don't get distracted by peripheral stuff that's not really important at the moment, but it focuses you yeah, the important things, you know.
Let's go back and share the screen real quick. You unshared prematurely. They have homework.
Hmm.
And I dumped us again.
Yeah.
This is so weird. Just bear with us, guys. Right. You know what? I'm not gonna present. You guys are just gonna look at all
It
the
looks
messages,
messy,
right?
but you know, at
It's
least you see
okay.
something.
So your homework is to go to the course platform and download the exercise PDF. It's with this diagram, but also full instructions written out. And Terry has just posted a link in the chat to get there directly. You won't be able to access that if you have not properly signed up, but most of you have. If you're watching this, if you're on YouTube, just sign up, go to sign up for the workshop, it's free, and then you can access the PDF. Then go try it with your horse. If you have to modify, but go try it with your horse. And optional is to record video of your experiment.
Yeah, and people who are in our courses know that already. The exercise is there to help the horse and to teach the horse something, to improve the horse. It's not there. The horse is not there to serve the exercise, but the exercise is there to serve the horse. That's why you can always modify it. No exercise is so important that you couldn't interrupt it at any time to explain something to the horse, or that you couldn't modify it, you know, take something out, replace something, simplify, like I said, leg yield instead of haunches in, or counter shoulder in instead, yeah, small angle between the horse's body and the long side. Or once you get to the diagonal, maybe you have to ride a shallow diagonal. Maybe you have to ride a very shallow angle on that diagonal. Try to find something that's doable for the horse, right? Something that's difficult enough that it's interesting and that it's a bit of a challenge, but it needs to be easy enough that the horse can do it, and the horse doesn't get frustrated with it or doesn't get scared by it. So.
And then you can share your findings, observations, even if you're brave and you want feedback, your video, and your notes from today in the Facebook group. And we will try to get in there and answer questions and give you feedback. And in just a moment, we're going to answer questions here, but then we will also see you for training 3, which is articulating the half-pass feedback, nuance, and forward flow. In that session, we will be looking at some of the videos that some of you post in the Facebook group and giving some on-the-spot feedback, frame by frame. Okay, so now I'm going to unshare and we can answer questions. So again, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A. And we'll get to those first.
Yeah, Ricky's is not only learning to describe it, but to do it in English too. How both improved. I know it's, if you do it in a foreign language, it's an additional challenge. Yeah. Okay, so here the Q&As. And Marie, this was the first one. She says, in Canter half pass, do you ask Abe the horse to move over sideways during the moment of suspension? Yeah, that's basically the only time the horse is actually able to move sideways. That's why if you have no suspension phase, it gets very awkward, it gets very stilted, difficult to move over, and there'll be lots of resistance.
Yeah.
But the more bounce you have, the more airtime you have, the easier it is to flow. Like Klaus Christian, that Canter half pass, I mean, that was basically perfect, the way he did it. So, I mean, so effortless, man. So, but you saw the bounce and you saw the uphill balance, and then, you know. Yeah, if you lose the suspension phase, then everything feels wooden and stilted, and you feel like the horse is about to break a leg here, you know, if you muscle him sideways, so don't do that. So. Vader says, my horse is stiff right, but is very skilled doing changes in both directions. That's good. On half pass right, I'm having trouble either going sideways, or if he gets unbalanced, he flips a change and that flips a change back. Yeah, it's cute, but the third level judge doesn't also need let me know how I can establish a better bend to right so he can't flip changes.
Yeah.
Some horses, you see, it's just, it has to do with the flexibility of that inside
Yeah.
hind leg. When the inside hind leg feels overburdened, in canter half passes, some horses build up tension and resistance, and that triggers the flying change. Same thing in pirouettes. If you ride canter pirouettes a little smaller than the horse can do them, they will change leads. Sometimes just behind, sometimes they change all, all four legs. So let me see, is that change? Half pass, so in half pass right. And it makes sense that it's towards the stiffer side, where the hind leg, inside hind, isn't vertically as flexible. So, the inside hind is the more carrying one. In the canter, the half pass transfers the weight to the inside hind. And when that inside hind leg feels like it can't handle that much weight, the horse changes leads, and then the inside hind leg becomes the outside one, so it's not as far under the body, it's a little bit out behind. And that's how they do that, right? So that's it's an evasion essentially, or it's a sign that that inside right hind leg is not flexible enough yet vertically to do the half pass right. So then when you ride half passes to the right in the canter, you could compromise with the horse, ask for less angle, or ride the half pass on a shallower diagonal. Not in a test, of course, but in training, I would probably do these relatively shallow ones where you can also ride more forward in it. That makes it a lot easier for the horse. And then in training, I would increase the suppleness, the strength, the flexibility of the inside hind, especially in the ride. You can do this in the trot, of course, with shoulder in ride, turn on the haunches, whatever, combinations. You can do squares or diamonds where you ride one side in shoulder in, the other side in haunches in, and then the turns in as a quarter pirouette. That's something you can do in the canter too, by the way. That's a really interesting pattern, square or diamond, 20-meter side length, and then punches in one side, quarter pirouette, shoulder in the next side, quarter pirouette, and so on. Or sometimes I do it 10 meters of the square in haunches in, 10 meters in shoulder in. So 20-meter side length, right? First half of the side in haunches in, second half in shoulder in, quarter pirouette as a corner of that square, and then again 10-meter haunches in, 10-meter shoulder in, quarter pirouette. That's pretty intense, but that's a pretty good one. Another interesting thing you can try in walk, trot, or canter, 3-4 strides, half pass away from the wall and leg yield out. So in the canter it would be plie out to the wall. So it's like little zigzags, right? Half pass in, plie out. What's also interesting, it's almost more effective, leg yield away from the wall, half pass out, which means if you do it in a canter, you'll be in counter canter. Counter canter, move the horse a little off the wall and then half pass back to the wall. And then again, and you can ride 2 or 3 zigzags on the long side. So don't stay in the zigzags very long. So don't go all the way to the center line. Just go 3 or 4 strides, maximally to the quarter line, and then back already. That really builds suppleness and builds strength. And you're rocking the weight back and forth from one hind leg to the other. Another nice thing, actually, you can do plie, counter canter, plie away from the wall, and then ride a passade into the fence, basically, right?
Facade is like a haunches in vaulted.
Yeah, it's a working period.
Yeah.
Passade is the old term. And then once you're on that long side, you could go straight, you could lengthen the stride, or you could go haunches in a little bit. It's like left rein, right lead canter, plie away from the wall, passade to the outside, so you're on the right rein. And you could then ride a haunches in, if you like, and a few strides and then straight again. So that develops the suppleness and the strength of that inside hind leg. So if you do this for the right lead canter, if you do this for the right hind leg, then he won't have to change leads anymore in the right half pass after a while. Will take a little while to build that strength and that suppleness, but using these types of exercises that I mentioned, yeah, that will get you there.
It'll get better.
Yeah, and you can do them in the walk first just to get a feel for it, and you can do it in the trot, and then you do it in the canter. You know, so and the horse also then gets the idea behind it, and he develops that feel and that body awareness that he needs. And
Yeah, good stuff.
okay.
Okay, so Francis Sisimo says, so we need to know how much ability and level of their strength and suppleness and assess it over time to keep the quality for a few steps and slowly build gradually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Maria Bloman says, I've heard you say that some horses have a talent for piaffe or passage. Does the same apply to the half pass?
Yeah, I mean, there are horses that have some talent for the half pass, and there are others that find it more difficult.
Yeah.
If you have a horse with a big, round rib cage and relatively short legs, they often find it difficult. I had a Lipizan stallion many years ago who found half passes very difficult because he was like a 16-hand body on 15-hand legs. So,
Did get them. It
took a long time.
They became really easy for him, but it took longer than it does with maybe a more long-legged, agile
It
horse.
is arrogant.
Arrogant. He was arrogant, actually. He was very arrogant.
Meant elegant.
But he was.
Elegant thoroughbreds or elegant sport horses, right? They have a much easier time. They're sleek, long legs and slender bodies, and so much easier, right? But yeah, the stout Baroque type horses, fjord horses, halflingers, old style halflingers, they can be a little bit more difficult because there's
On the other hand, those movements that they find really difficult are even more beneficial for
Oh
them.
yeah, absolutely. It makes them a lot better.
They need them all the more for their signaling effects. Okay, so Caro H says, so using inside leg for canter depart as the driving, how would you indicate the horse which leg leads? I've been taught outside leg back and inside leg drives. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, that's the German method, right? Outside leg is back framing, the inside leg is at the girth. And the outside hind leg has to lift you, so it makes sense to lighten your inside seat bone or transfer weight into the outside hind. You can half vault into the outside hind leg just before you ask for the canter. Flex the outside hind and then ask the inside hind to take a bigger step. So you hold the outside hind leg down with your weight and then drive the inside hind leg. So the trot or the walk are symmetrical gaits, right? Hind legs take equal steps. In the canter, it's asymmetrical. The inside hind reaches more forward. So you have to slow down the outside hind leg, which is something you can do by holding it on the ground with your weight. And you accelerate the inside hind by taking the weight off a little bit and driving with your inside leg, and then the horses usually step up into the canter pretty easily because it's logical. It's like has a certain body logic to it, right?
So Shannon Moyes Clark says, how did she, quote, fix the half pass that got a little downhill, aka how would I fix it? So how did Sabine?
Sabine. Well, I don't know exactly how she did it. What I would do is accentuate the upward movement of the forehand. Like in the first beat of the canter stride, the outside hind has to lift the body up. And you can accentuate the up movement in your body. You could step into the outside stirrup. You can half vault with the outside rein. You probably also have to drive a little bit.
Inside hind under and direct the weight to the outside hind.
Yeah, the horse has to jump under because as the horse fell on the forehand and got crooked, he probably also left his hind legs a little behind. So I'm pretty sure that there was a driving leg aid somewhere involved, especially inside because the haunches escaped to the inside. So more inside leg, jump and then lift and then jump again and lift again.
The horse had fallen onto the right shoulder, right? So you're driving with the right hind right hind leg, right leg to bring the right hind leg underneath. And then taking that weight that fell into the right shoulder and directing it diagonally back into the outside hind leg to rebalance the horse.
So that's what I would try. And in training, of course, you could sneak in a volte. You know the volte would also fix the crookedness, right? If the haunches swung sideways, you could drive that inside hind leg forward and under, and then turn the shoulder, and then after the volte, continue your half pass. So in training, I would probably do something like that. In the test, of course, you're screwed. You can't do a volte, so you have to kind of do what you can to get the balance back. You know.
So Jane Boone says, if the horse has a better canter in half pass, can you go to the trot after cantering a few strides, then trot while doing the movement?
Canter in half pass, can you go? Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, you could do transitions in the half pass, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You
Trot.
do all the transitions within your half pass.
You can, yeah, absolutely.
It's a great thing to do, actually.
Mm.
You can halt and canter again, you can halt and walk and trot, and you can do them all.
Yeah, in the half pass, I like the walk, canter, transitions more than the trot.
Yeah, me too.
To canter, to trot.
But you can do it technically. You can.
Yeah, I mean, you could do anything you want, basically.
Be playful. Have fun, experiment.
Yeah. I'm just thinking if the horse kind of escapes into the canter in the half pass because he got crooked, then what would be the best way? I mean, you can try to half halt and get back to the trot. But if the horse got crooked and he got a little bit behind you, behind your aids, maybe it would be better to exit the half pass, go straight. In the canter, lengthen the stride so he comes into the contact again, down transition to trot, and try again, start over. That might be a better strategy. Assuming the horse not only got crooked, but he also sucked back a little bit. Because horses will do that. If the trot gets a little harder, they will sometimes get slightly behind the aids, they get slightly crooked, and then they're cantering behind the aids a little bit. So then if you go back to trot in the half pass, he would still be behind the aids probably. He might still be a little crooked. So that's why sometimes just riding forward in the canter, but then straight parallel to the long side. Yeah. So never go from a half pass onto a single track diagonal because it teaches the horse bad habits. If you need to exit the half pass, ride parallel to the long side, and there you can ride forward and lengthen the stride. That might actually be a good combination anyway. Might be a good fix.
Okay, Marlene's Bone says, with both my horses, it's easier to move from shoulder in into half pass by stirrup stepping into the inside front leg in the stiff direction than in the hollow direction. In the hollow direction, there is usually a lag of 2 to 3 strides before they initiate the half pass, where in the stiff direction, they just go right ahead. That makes sense. Yeah. This makes sense to me, because in the hollow direction, they have to move their weight into the less favorite pair of legs. Is this usual, or am I confused about something? Makes total sense to me.
Makes sense. I mean, in the stiffer direction, the horses kind of want to lean on the inside shoulder anyway, so they tend to want to move away from the fence. Whereas in the hollow direction, they can cling a little to the fence, to the wall with the outside shoulder. So in the hollow direction, you may have to actually turn the shoulders a little bit more, even from the shoulder in, maybe initiate by moving the shoulders first and then moving the haunches, just so the horse doesn't get crooked in that. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah. Shannon Moise Clark asks, any tips on this exercises in the canter?
Yeah, in the canter, the stepping into the outside hind leg doesn't have quite the same effect. It doesn't lead to a bigger bounce of the outside hind, but you could raise the forehand more. But yeah, in the canter, I would add the volte. So 3 strides haunches in, 3 strides haunches back out, and then turn the shoulder onto a volte. And I find that that's actually a really good preparation for flying changes too. because haunches in means weight is on the inside hind, then you move the haunches out, you put your weight on the outside hind leg, turn into the vaulted, you can shift the weight back to the inside hind. So there's a lot of weight shifting back and forth involved. Yeah, I mean, try that. It's a good exercise, and really feel the weight coming into the inside hind when you're in the haunches, and really feel that inside hind leg having to flex under the weight. And with that, moving the croup back out, you bring the inside hind leg more underneath you. With the vaulter, you flex it again, and after the vaulter, you bring the haunches in again, and so on. So it's like it's a gymnastic exercise for the inside hind leg, really, where you bring it under and you sit on it, you flex it like a spring, right? And then, yeah, as you move the haunches out, you can take the weight off of the inside hind a little bit, bring it under the body, and then put the weight back on. So strengthens the inside hind and it creates this vertical elasticity.
Okay, Anne Marie. Regarding today's exercise, on the hollow rein, where the quarters fall in, how do I make sure the inside hind is underneath us in the half pass and not falling in?
Well, inside leg, right?
Like you can start it with a slight shoulder in, shoulder 4 in the canter beforehand, and think of keeping that angle and that feeling throughout your half pass. So you should have that same feeling. If let your horse get crooked a little bit, let the horse fall, and let the haunches drift in a little bit the way the horse wants to, and you'll feel the difference. If you go from that shoulder in half pass, letting it get a little crooked, you'll feel there's a difference in the way the horse's body moves, and you can register that, so you'll always feel it from then on.
Yeah, and you can always ride a vaulter. Whenever you feel like you lost the inside, you inside hind leg in a vault, haunches in or in a half pass, just ride a vaulter, because then that means you need to turn the shoulder and bring the shoulder in front of the inside hind, and then your inside leg can send the inside hind leg under the body. That usually fixes it right there.
When it happens. But then how do you make sure it doesn't? By really getting it fine-tuned, that you know what it feels like when you start to lose that inside hind. So you never mistake it. Once you know it, you know it.
Yeah, and then ask yourself, can I ride inside leg to outside rein in the half pass? Because usually people would ride outside leg to inside rein, right? But can you do that, right? So you need to turn the shoulder a little bit more in the direction of travel. Drive the inside hind leg forward, and then with the outside knee and rein, bring the shoulder in front of the inside hind. So it's a little counterintuitive, right, to ride inside leg to outside rein, but in the hollow direction, that's often a good remedy. So maybe just even thinking about inside leg to outside rein may already help. Yeah, little reminder.
So Jennifer Smith says or asks, will there be a written description of this exercise, just the initial basics? Yes, on the PDF, it's all written out. And if you have any questions, once you've read that, just ask in the Facebook group. And that's what we're here for. So Toby Paul, sorry if I messed that up. What's the best way to transition from outside leg canter aid to inside leg canter aid?
Yeah, the important thing is that you have the outside hind leg well underneath and you flex it with stirrup stepping, half halts. And then use a combination of lifting the inside seat bone a little bit and driving with the inside leg. So you may have to do this a few times until the horse understands. And what I used to do in the past is actually like reach back with my outside leg, but then take it off a little bit and then just give the canter aid with my inside leg as a test.
A bridge aid might help. So if you use a certain cluck or kiss or tap with the whip, so that the horse understands that this is the new aid for a while, for a few times, do it with the old aid, and then do it with the new aid using that bridge aid, and do that for a while. Use the bridge aid for a while, then you can abandon the bridge aid. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you have a verbal aid, cue, whatever. Yeah.
Or like some horses respond really well to a little touch of the whip. Just a little tickle on the inside hip. pounce them, or, you know, I've ridden horses that actually respond to a little touch of the whip on the inside shoulder for the canter. So, you know, find what each horse needs, what helps them to understand. It's not about being dogmatic that, you know, no, the book says you do it this way. You have to find what your horse needs, not what the book needs. Okay. Jennifer says, sorry, just seen the link, but the PDF is not appearing fully. Yeah, I think that was fixed. I think she reposted it and hopefully it works. Otherwise, just log into the course platform, it's in there. Jane Kung says, when I ask for haunches in and change one side to the other, Stella starts to feel like she's going to passage. How would I stop this without upsetting her, as she feels very smooth with herself?
You know, if it feels good, I mean, I might go with that for a few strides, allow the horse to do it. And then she will probably come back to the trot.
I mean, you're getting that balance. We're asking for the horse to give us a little bit more flexion of the hind leg and rebound, which gives you a little bounce. She's giving you a little more than you're asking for. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you want to passage, right? If the horse just volunteers it out of whatever misunderstanding, I would pretend that that was intentional, praise the horse, let her have fun with it, a few strides, but then you could lengthen the stride with your knees a little bit, and then the horse will get out of the passage and into the.
And I would say, brilliant, file that away. Now you know something that's going to work for you, but be watchful because some horses pretend passage and it can feel pretty good, but the horse is ever so slightly behind the aids, and you don't want to encourage that.
Yeah, but then they're usually hollow backed too, and then they're uncomfortable to sit.
Usually, not always. Yeah. Some of them are really good at. Yes. Okay. Ingela Eklund, do not see the link yet. Look, I think this was, it's in there. Yeah, I know.
Fixed by now.
Okay, Matthew Smith, often what starts as a passable half pass degrades to a stiff leg yield. What would you ride into from this? Good question.
Yeah, so when your half pass deteriorates to a stiff leg yield, you're losing the bend and you're losing the engagement of the inside hind leg. So leave the half pass, bring the inside hind leg underneath you, restore the bend. You could do this by riding a volte, could do it by riding a shoulder in, you could ride a shoulder in square or rectangle, you could do a spiral volte, you know.
Or even leg yield or shoulder in away from the inside leg so that it's not just shoulder in, you know, along parallel to the long side, but you're moving back towards the long side you came from. So you're moving the horse back over. It's kind of
like a zigzag, yeah.
Or playing ping pong. You're doing your half pass, and then you're taking the horses with the inside aids and bringing the horse back over to the outside aids.
Like half pass in, leg yield out.
Yeah, that could be really useful. And you can do any combination of any of these combinations of all of this. Brilliant. Yeah, lots of exercises that make you artistic use of these elements together to create better and better and better effects in the horse.
Yeah, it helps to analyze, right? So what did I lose? You know, it's like I said here, you lose the bend because the inside hind leg is no longer stepping under. So that's why when you approach it from that angle, then you think, okay, what can I ride to improve the bend? What can I ride to engage that inside hind again? And then all of a sudden you have this whole long list of options that you can use and combine with each other and stuff, right? So, yeah. So you can become your own mechanic, so to speak, and fix the the broken car.
Ashley Robinson, apologies as this is not strictly regarding the half pass. I'd like to come back to your tip to train the canter to part from the inside leg instead of the outside leg in the long-term preparation for the half pass. I don't understand that from a biomechanical perspective, as the canter starts with the outside hind leg. Could you expand your explanation? Thank you. Yes.
Well, the outside hind lifts the horse into the canter, so that's why you have to have the outside hind leg well underneath you. You have to flex it, and then that outside hind, when it is grounded and it supports the weight, it can lift the forehand up. So the inside hind leg actually takes that first step into the canter. So that's kind of the reasoning behind it.
My head just totally, for years, did the same thing as you, and that doesn't make sense to me. But over time, I actually, as I really studied the biomechanics, it does. That is how the horse's body works.
And I mean, think about walk and trot, symmetric gaits. Both hind legs move equally fast, they take equally long steps. In the canter, it's asymmetric, right? The inside hind leg takes a longer step and it's like a little bit faster, has to reach forward. So how do you get from equal symmetric to asymmetric? So you basically have to slow the outside hind leg down, so the inside hind has a chance to take a bigger and quicker stride.
And so at that moment that outside leg is down, the two diagonal legs that the next beat, they then synchronize and come together, and then you have the third beat.
So, and you can slow a leg down by sitting on it, right? Put the weight on it, then the weight keeps it on the ground. It doesn't allow that hind leg to come off the ground when it wants to. But because your weight stays the same, you don't gain 20 pounds, right? You put 20 pounds on that outside hind leg. That means you have to take 20 pounds off of somewhere else, like inside, right? So taking weight off a hind leg allows that hind leg to come off the ground faster and maybe lift higher or reach farther. And then if you support that with the inside leg, like weight on the outside hind, weight off of the inside hind, drive that inside hind, then organically the horse will step into the canter usually. For most horses, that's intuitive and logical, and they do the canter department.
Okay. And Marie says, my horse also automatically does a flying change at the end of a half pass without me asking both reins.
That happens. And usually is the result of riders doing a flying change every single time after a half pass. So the horse thinks that's how we do it, that's how it needs to be. That becomes a bit tricky. Yeah, it's a habit. It becomes a little bit difficult. What I would do is maybe not ride the half pass all the way to the wall, but end your half pass on the third track and then ride a renvers along the third track. All right, so basically counter canter, and then maybe walk, and then change the bend, and then canter again. So that's why in all these competition tests, you don't do the flying change at the end of the half pass. You do it on the short side or the next long side, right? That's because the judges want to see.
Later you do, but initially not. Yeah.
Judges want to see if the horse is on autopilot, if he just changes whenever. But yeah, so I would fix, or you canter, and just before you get to the long side, you walk, and then finish the half pass at the walk or the trot, and then on the new next, when you're on the new rein, then pick up the canter. But I would practice counter cantering after the half pass. And then you'll feel that the closer you get to the wall, the more the horse is itching to change. So exit a little earlier. Exit on the third track, parallel to the long side, renvers, and then choose your moment where you do a down transition.
Yeah, you can usually feel the tension kind of builds and the horse's rib cage and being licked. The horse's rib cage starts to brace a little bit. This is your warning sign.
Okay. They build tension sometimes on the inside. The inside hind leg, sometimes they brace against the inside rein, and that builds, and then it's almost like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They trigger the change themselves by building tension against the inside aid. So then you have to be relaxed, release the inside rein, be careful with the inside leg, and if you can move the horse into a renvers position, that makes it more difficult for the horse to change leads. But yeah, exit a little earlier, renvers, down transition, and then gradually, as he understands that we don't change every time, at the end of the half pass, then you can exit on the second track instead of the third track, but keep going in counter canter in renvers. And then go all the way to the first track, still renvers, still counter, canter, and walk, or do the flying change at A or C or next long side or whatever. You can canter in renvers past the short side and then choose a point on the next long side where you do a flying change or simple change or something.
Yeah, you build the possibilities in his mind over time, over each of these. It's not gonna be in one day, right? You're going to build it over time, but he needs to understand that these are all possibilities too.
Mhm.
Yeah, Matthew Smith says, you mentioned passade, something I can't get my mind around. Care to explain it in monosyllables?
Yeah, today it's usually called a working pirouette, but it's basically just an oversized turn on the haunches. The shoulders travel around the hind legs, but instead of turning around the inside hind as the center of the pirouette, the center of that turn is somewhere behind you, right? And it can have, I don't know, various sizes, right? But it's really just a very large pirouette, too large for the competition judges. It's an old traditional movement. It's very useful.
Okay. Harry posted this from Kathy Mason in the Facebook group. Hi everyone, I'm on the bench at the moment following rotator cuff surgery in my shoulder. I'm sorry, that's hard. For once, it was the bike, not my four-legged best friend. I'm very interested in this challenge as I would love to improve the half pass. My horse, Fedor, Belgian warm blood, has nice half pass at walk. In trot, left feels easier, left, however, often not enough hindquarters. Right feels harder, but he actually goes more sideways, sometimes actually leading with the hindquarters. When I get him in his sweet spot, it's great. This is hard as he has a tendency to slow down and go too high with his head. I have to really think about riding him lower to the right. One question that I have for the next live. On the right rein, when I ride Ravert, I don't get the same issues and everything feels much smoother. Curious why this is the case. Second question is that in the canter, he feels easier right than left, which is the opposite of the trot. Would love to hear the explanation for this.
Answered that in the
Oh, okay. But maybe give a quick,
just read it again. Let's try to remember. So
we could go find her.
front half pass left is easier, but not enough sideways. Right, harder, but more sideways. Leading, so sounds hollow right, stiff left. Harder to slow down and go too high. Yes, it's a crookedness issue the way it sounds. When some horses are sensitive, when they get crooked, they invert, especially in the hollow direction. And for some, it doesn't take much. You may not even see that the horse is crooked, but yet, back is dropped and the head is up and so on. And when you have him in that sweet spot and he's straight and aligned and so on, he's round. That can be tricky with some horses. So I suspect that that's what it is, that he's probably escaping with his inside hind leg a little bit sideways and moving next to the body rather than under the body. So, so you could dog. So you could interrupt your half pass by riding a few strides, shoulder in parallel to the long side, and then returning into the half pass. Or like we had said earlier, half pass a few strides, leg yield out, and then half pass in again, or ride a volte. There's all these different things. So the trick will be to get the inside hind leg under the body and to get the outside shoulder a little closer to the inside hind leg. So sometimes it's just best to abandon the half pass, fix whatever you lost, and then try again. And then in terms of let me see, right rein, when I ride renvers, the renvers on the right rein means the horse is bending left and the haunches are moving out to the left. So that's more related to a half pass left rather than a half pass right. So if half pass left is easier than half pass right, and the renvers on the right rein feels better than on the left, that kind of makes sense, right? Bend left and haunches left. Yeah, half pass left, renvers on the right rein, same thing in that sense, right? So it's a crookedness issue, right?
So the PDF should be downloading correctly now, everyone. Looks like maybe there was a little malfunction. So Sharon Vadas says, thank you for answering my question. That was very helpful. I will re-listen to the YouTube video later to really get and try all of your suggested exercises.
So let us know if it works.
Yes, please do.
Or which one works.
Yes. Let us know what you think. Leah Hickman on half pass to the left. I have a hard time keeping my guy's shoulders on track, and he ends up leading with the haunches and overbending. Any tips for correcting those?
Sounds hollow left.
Yep.
And stiff right. Well, the first thing I would try is bring my outside hip more forward and inside hip back, almost as if you wanted to ride a shoulder in on that diagonal line. And with your outside knee in rein, move the shoulder a little to the inside, and then with your inside leg, ride the inside hind leg forward. If that doesn't work, exit, ride a volte, ride a shoulder in, and then re-enter the half pass. It's perfectly all right to ride 3 strides of the half pass, exit, improve balance, bend, straightness, whatever you lost, and then start again. Another 3 strides of half pass, exit, fix the basic gait, enter again, and so on. I mean, that's what I do too. And then over time, the horses become stronger and more supple and, more coordinated. So you can ride maybe 4 or 5 strides before you have to exit rather than 3. And then you can do 6 strides, and then maybe you can do 10 strides in the half pass, and then eventually you can do the whole long side, right?
Actually says the explanation answered her question. Let's see, Shannon Moyes Clark said, any exercises to improve the canter half pass zigzag? Depends on what you're trying to improve.
Yeah, I know
because there could be a number of things that could be not working well, so it depends.
Yeah, how big is the zigzag? Is that like the 4-8-8-8-4 or 3-6-6-6-3? Because in those, like the intermediate and the Grand Prix half pass, you have to be super fast, right? Keeping the flow. Remember that the quality of the gait is the highest priority. Oh, okay. Please and George, it's just in out. This is the counter change of lead.
Okay.
That's not so difficult. Yeah. So for the counter change of lead canter, in the last, how I would do it is the last couple of strides. First, make the horse straight. Basically take the bend out. In the last stride, change the bend. So let's say you're doing a left lead half pass. Second to last stride of that half pass, you make the horse parallel with long side. You make him dead straight, like you swallowed a broomstick. The last stride, you're changing the bend, so you're still in the left lead canter. The horse is bending right already, all the weight in the left hind leg, and then you first stride of the new leg of the half pass is the flying change, right? So, and by taking the bend out and bending in the other direction, it almost feels like there's a certain torque in the horse's body that has to resolve somehow, and you resolve it into that flying change. And the horse kind of wants to do the flying change at that point because left lead canter, bending right, and so on becomes uncomfortable for the horse. And then the flying change becomes a relief for the horse. Just have to make sure that that the shoulders are leading, that otherwise the same thing will happen, what happened to Sabine Schuldt-Carry, where the haunches were suddenly leading after that. So as you have to arrange the horse so that he's fairly parallel to the long side, and then move him over, and from stiff to hollow, the risk of the haunches leading after the change is bigger. From the hollow side to the stiff side, not as much, So then you may have to fine tune, you may have to ride it slightly differently, going left to right and right to left, because of the asymmetries. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Jane Coon, for me, I can't use my outside leg after half halting. I can only use my inside one. Stella is much better this way, which always upsets the instructors.
What's the context? Is that the canter depart, or what is
After half halting.
half halting? But half halting for what purpose? You know what means me, my inside one. I'm a little lost on the context. I'm not
Yeah.
sure exactly what situation you're talking about.
And Anne Marie says, yes, I think you're right. Ryder has induced flying changes at the end of half pass as you reach the long side. Therefore, he thinks this is what we do. Need to do it differently. Counter canter is more difficult than doing flying change. Yes.
Yeah. Once they figured out that the flying change is actually less effort, then some horses will gravitate towards the flying change.
Okay, so canter
Canter depart. But yeah, I mean, you should ask for the canter with the inside leg, right? In the German tradition, and then like I had explained earlier, asking for the canter with the inside leg has the advantage that there will be no confusion in trot half passes when your outside leg asks the horse to move over. Whereas if you teach your horse to canter with an outside lower leg, then you will probably run into that problem that you're trying to ride a trot half pass and the horse starts cantering, So and if your trainers want you to canter from the outside leg, then that's a little problematic. So
I mean, in the end,
yeah.
do what makes your horse happy.
What?
I'm saying
Oh,
in the
so
end,
in
I'm not
oh,
reading anything, I'm answering her. I'm
so
saying
yeah.
in the end, do what makes your horse happy. If it,
Do what works.
not what
Yeah.
your instructors say.
No.
Sorry, but the horse is the final judge. Let's see here. I'm just seeing if
chips are very helpful. Thank you.
I just want to see if we've missed anything in here. There was some chat about weather and stuff. We read some of these already. They were just going so fast when they were coming in. I couldn't. We started reading and then it zoomed by.
Yeah, we had
I know. I'm just making sure we haven't missed any. Okay.
Right here, Lavina Snook. Just starting at the very basics of groundwork with my 4-year-old, so lots of laughing and waiting until he spits out the lead rope, but also looking forward to his further training. Yeah, exactly.
Aww.
Take your time.
Yes.
With a 4-year-old.
Yes. Okay, Matthew said was going to ask how you avoid the canter becoming 4-time.
Jump. Make sure you have enough bounce in the canter, so little lower leg aids here and there to remind the horse to keep, jumping.
Keep the inside hind jumping under. So it's really the inside hind has to keep coming under and then create that jump. Every stride. Think of every stride being a jump stride. Okay, talking about some homework and okay, Ingela said, sorry, I have to leave now, but we'll catch up. Thank you, Shannon and Thomas, for sharing your expertise and most of all, guiding us all in the direction of respectful, friendly communication, listening to and waiting for the horse's feedback, and showing him with love. See you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Me too. Yeah, thank you. Yes, more thank yous. I have to go. Thank you for the informative webinar. See you guys tomorrow. See you.
Shannon, West Clark, walk, canter, walk, half pass, sign us up.
Sign us up.
It's difficult, but I mean, it's actually great exercise. Also, trot half pass, trot halt, and from the halt to the trot half pass is difficult. And just same thing, walk half pass to canter half pass is difficult, but that really makes the horse attentive and it really balances and straightens the horse and it really makes you precise with your seat and your aids. It's the Spanish riding school does these kind of things when you watch their morning practice. Difficult, pretty advanced work, but it's very effective. Yeah, Marley said fading here, had a very early morning. Thank you for an awesome lesson. We'll watch the rest on the recording night, folks. Yeah. I think South Africa is a couple of hours ahead of us, time-wise. And Jennifer Smith says, looking forward to trying this in some shape or form. Let the group know how it goes. Let us know.
Faye says, thank you for the incredible lesson. I'm heading to bed. I'll finish watching tomorrow. There are lots of South Africans
I know, yeah.
this time around. And so, yeah, it's hard for you guys to make it, and even harder for the Australians.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, Deanna Sinclair Parker says, I love your biomechanical explanations. No one else, or rarely anyone else, explains it like you do. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
And Maria Bloman said, I agree, Deanna, getting the explanations from a biomechanical point of view makes everything so much clearer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Carol.
I mean, it's how I had to learn it, because I didn't have the talent that some other people have. I couldn't just get on and do it, you know, so I really had to break it down and analyze and what exactly is happening
And this is,
and what do I need to do to, you know, create that result.
this is also just how your brain works. You have to understand, and he has to not just understand the surface, he has to understand from the inside.
Yeah, I can't do it otherwise if I don't understand it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, he really, and he's that way about everything. It's brilliant.
It's a curse.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Actually, we have the most interesting conversations about everything in the world. Really. Carol Boylan says, thank you, Shanna and Thomas, so helpful and instructive. I need to rewind and study some concepts. I'm excited to have this chance to learn. Thank you. And Leah Heckman says, thank you so much for putting these on, so helpful. And Terry says, amazing amount of information. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Maria Sabel says, so much info. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, and Terry says it's that scientific mind as an engineer in the same way. Yeah. Okay, we got that one. It was about the Canter department.
Yeah.
Margarita Wesley said, Margarita, is that how I say it? I once asked an instructor, very great man, about the Canter aids. He said that if you want to make changes in series, you have to use the outside leg to keep the horse straight. I used the inside, so now I use both. I've never heard that before, ever.
Well, in flying changes, what's the outside leg? The old outside leg or the new outside leg? Normally, you know, I mean, in flying changes, usually move the horse from the old outside aids to the new outside aids, and the new outside aids trigger the change. But I think the French ask with the old outside leg, because their idea is that you're not moving the croup in the other direction, but you're moving the new inside hind leg forward.
That makes sense.
Can work, you know. I mean, I use the new outside leg, so I'm asking the horse to move the croup in the new direction. Yeah, there is a risk that the horse can get crooked, but if you reduce the aid enough, then it's okay, then they don't get crooked. Driving the new inside hind leg forward is an interesting concept too. So I mean, experiment with it and see what happens. You know, if it works,
Fun.
can't argue with success, right?
Fun, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Just take what you think you know and take it apart and do something else with it. You know, I think that's great fun, because then you really learn a lot more. Deanna says, I'm a retired occupational therapist. I was a veterinary technician. I was the why kid and still need to know the why and what makes things work, drives others nuts. I know, but that's what makes you really understand it. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. And we are 5 minutes shy of 2 hours. I think that's brilliant. I think we'll wrap it up here. Go ride this exercise, guys. Go try it out in any way, shape, or form, and let us know.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear all the observations, the surprises, the effects, light bulbs.
Take video, and we will give feedback on the videos, and we will select a couple videos to highlight on the next session, and we will give feedback live on those videos, even if we've already commented on them in the Facebook group. We'll select a couple that really exhibit specific problems or exemplary, demonstration of it. Somebody on YouTube wanted to see the video, wanted to see video of it being ridden. You will get to see it being ridden on day 3, because we're going to break apart the participants' videos. So stay tight. So Margarita Westland says, thank you so much for another session. You are welcome.
welcome.
See you guys on the, well, there's a mindset nugget going out next, and then we'll have another live training. So see you then. Bye.